the steps for project 45. So again, when we download our project files, we need to, if they open in protected view, we need to go ahead and click enable editing. And then be sure to change the file name, changing the 1 to a 2. Alright, so the scenario for this project is Camille owns a franchise of electronics stores with locations in 4 cities. She wants to analyze the sales of the sales taxes paid for her store's most popular products. So we want to go to the sales summary worksheet. So again, this workbook has 2 worksheets, documentation and sales summary. So I'm going to go ahead and click the sales summary tab. And we want to copy the contents of the range A6 to A11. So I'm going to click on cell A6. And this time I just want to have my pointer as the white plus sign, kind of the thick white plus sign. And I'm just going to click in the center of the cell. I'm just going to drag down to select it. Now I can go up on the Home tab in the clipboard group and I can click copy, or I can right click copy, and then I want to go down to cell A15 and I'm going to right click again, and I just want to select the very first paste option. So all you're doing here is copying and pasting text. Okay, in cell B11 we want to create a formula using the sum function to total the values in the range B6 through B10. So we want to navigate to cell B11, and we want to, in our Home tab, we want to go over to the editing group and we just want to click on auto sum. And again, Excel identifies the most logical range for us to total. And that is the range we want a total value for, so B6 to B10, so we can just go up to our formula bar and click on the check mark. And we want to use the fill handle to copy that formula to into the range C11 to F11. So again, we just hold our mouse in the lower right hand corner until we get the black plus sign pointer, and we just drag it across, and that copies that formula using the relative cell value. So step 3 asks us to copy the contents of cell F5 to F14. So I'm just going to click in cell F5, I'm going to right click, copy, and I'm going to navigate down to cell F14. Again, I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose the first option for paste, and that step is complete. Now for step 4, in cell E15, so I'm in column E and I'm scrolling, navigating down to row 15, I want to create a formula that multiplies the value in cell E6, total sales for the TVs in Baltimore, by the value in cell E14, sales tax rate in Baltimore. We want to use a relative cell reference to cell E6 and an absolute reference to the cell E14 in the formula. So we haven't talked about absolute references in Excel yet. So I'm going to put the formula in, and then I'll kind of explain it a little bit after. So I'm going to click on cell E15, and to create our formula, I'm simply going to press our equal sign. We always start a formula with the equal sign. So we want to multiply the value in cell E6. So I'm going to navigate to cell E6, or you could manually type it in. I'm just going to click it. And we want to multiply it, so we'll go ahead and put in our symbol for multiplication. And we want to multiply it by the value in cell E14, which is the sales tax rate. Now, to use a relative cell reference, we want E6, as we progress down this column of products, we want that value to change from E6, then we want it to be E7, then E8, then E9. So we want to use that relative value. We want Excel to recognize that we want it to progress down the list. But the one thing we don't want to change is the 6%. So as Excel has done before with our formulas, the next thing it would try to do is put in, instead of E14, then it would try to put in E15 and E16. Well, we would get an error. because we want it to multiply by E6 every time. So it has to be that absolute value. So to make a cell value absolute, we simply press the F4 key on our keyboard. Now notice that it put in the dollar signs in front of the E and in front of the 14. You can manually type this in whichever you prefer, and then just go ahead and press the Enter key. So when we click this, or when we look in the formula bar, we see that E6 is a relative value, but E14 is not going to change. So that when we use this fill handle to copy the formula down this column, and we'll go ahead and do it, and now we come back and check, E14 stays the same in every single formula, but it changes. E7, so that's the relative value. Notice E8, absolute value is E14. E9, E14. That's E10, E14. So relative value changes based on the cell location. Absolute value stays the same. That will not change. So hopefully that makes sense. Alright, so we've copied the formula, and so step 5 wants us to use the fill handle to copy the formula in cell B20. So we'll navigate to cell B20, and we want to copy that formula to C20, from C20 to E20. So I'm going to grab this fill handle, wait till my pointer changes to the black plus sign, and copy that formula from C20 to E20. Okay, now step 6, Camille wants to open a new store in a different city, and she wants to estimate what her expenses would be. So in cell A22, so here's column A, and I'm going to go to A22, we want to change the text to average text rate for all cities. So again, I'm just going to press my F2 key. That puts my insertion point at the end of this text, and now I'm just going to add for all cities. And do not put a period at the end of that. Alright, so now in cell D22, so column D, and I'm over here in cell D22, we want to create a formula that uses the average function to identify the average text rate for all cities based on the range B14 to E14. So from our home tab, if we navigate over here to the editing group, this time we do want to select the more option for our functions, and we find average. So go ahead and click average. Now notice that Excel always tries to help, and it identifies the most logical range. Well, we know that's not the range we want to use because our instructions says we want to base it on the range B14 to E14. So to simply change that, all we have to do is select the range that we actually want to use. So here's column B, and I'm navigate down to cell B14. Now I can click, when I have my pointer is this white plus sign, I can click this cell and I can drag across to select it to E14, and notice in my formula now I have the correct range, B14 to E14. So if that's correct, you can just go ahead and press the Enter key, and you should have a value of 7.5%. Alright, so step 8. Camille would like to know which product resulted in her collecting the highest and lowest amount of sales. So in cell A23, so my active cell is in D23, so I'm going to click on A23. We want to type in the text, highest tax amount collected across products. Okay, so once we have that typed in, now we can click on cell D23. And this time, we're going to use a function using max. So again, from our home tab, over in our function or editing group, more functions, we want to click on max. And notice again that Excel tried to identify a range for us. Well, we know that that's not the range we want to use. So again, we want to use the range F15 to F19. So let's click on cell F15. And when our pointer changes to that white thick plus sign, now we can just scroll down and select the range that we want to use. And make sure you stop at 19 if you select F20, that'll give you wrong results. So once you have the range selected F15 to F19, again, we can just click the check mark in our formula bar, press enter, and you should have $26,934.82. All right, now the next thing we want to do in cell D24, this time we want the minimum amount of tax collected. So again, from our home tab in our editing group, more functions, we're going to select minimum. And again, Excel tried to identify a range, and we want to select the range F15 to F19. So again, I'm going to click on cell F15 and drag down until I get the range F19. Now I'm just going to press enter. You should have $8,688.45. So Camille is interested in knowing how much revenue she generated from these popular items in total after deducting taxes. So in cell D25, and I'm in cell D25, she wants us to create a formula that subtracts the value in cell F20 from the value in cell F11. So again, to simply create a formula, we want to type in equals, and we're subtracting F20 from the value in cell F11, so we want to click cell F11 first. And then we want to put in our symbol for multiplication or subtraction, and now we want to click on cell F20, and I can hit the enter key on my keyboard, and it should be $1,129,944.67. So in keeping with best practices, Camille wants to round her final revenue to the nearest dollar. So in cell D26, we want to create a formula using the round function that rounds the value in the cell D25 to 0 decimal places. So again, we want to navigate from our home tab over to our editing group and click on more functions. So if we scroll through the list of functions that we have here, we can see that round is not one of those. So we want to choose more functions, and it gives us the option to search. So go ahead and type in round and click go, and you should get a list of different functions, and the very first one should be round. So with round selected, we want to go ahead and click OK. And now we get a functions argument box. So we kind of have to think about the question. So we want to round the value in cell D25. So we want to type in cell D25 as our number. And notice that it gives you the $1,129,944 over here. It shows you the number that we want to choose, which is correct. And then if we put in the number of digits, we type 0. And notice that it gives us an example of what it should look like, 1,129,945. Or it gives us an example of what it rounded it to. So we can go ahead and click OK. So notice when you actually look in cell D26 that we do have the .00, and that's because this is formatted as currency, but it did round it because it was 44.67. It rounded it up to 45. Alright, because Camille already calculated the average tax rate for all the cities in cell D22, the range A27 to D27 is no longer necessary. So it wants us to delete the cells in the range. So I'm going to select A27 to D27, and I'm simply going to right click, and I'm going to click delete, and then make sure you select shift cells up and click OK. And that deletes that group of cells. It deletes the formatting and everything for that group. Now in cell A3, so scroll up here to A3, notice that there's a note in here, incomplete document. Well, it's now complete, so we just want to delete this text. So just with that cell selected, just go ahead and click the delete key on your keyboard. Alright, so your workbook should look like the final figure on your instruction page or what you see on the screen here. Go ahead and save it and submit it. And if you have questions, feel free to email me or give me a call.